Welcome back to the channel, Bryce Wes Fishing. Today we're going to be changing a belt on a Hobie Pro Angler 360. I've looked all over the internet for videos showing how to do this. Could not find one, so I thought let's make one. So this whole video was made by phone. I try to keep it short, so let's get to it. Changing a belt on a 360. Here we go. Okay. Ow, son of a... Let's try that again. So apparently my belt broke on my drive. I was fishing Yakin YOLO with Queen City Kayak Bass Fishing. And this is kind of where I'm at. You can see my drive handle right here is kind of pointed to the right. It's stuck in that position. So on tourney day, when it happened, I had to turn my rudder to the left to kind of counterbalance, but it ended up being where it was weird. On the way the current was going, I was basically floating backwards this way, casting over my left shoulder to catch all my fish. But I got a limit. So anyway, I'm going to attempt to change this belt and document it as I go. So the first thing I got to do is take this off here. And then there's a few screws I got to take off here. I believe there's one, and then these two. That looks super loose. And then this one here. After I take those off, I'm going to have to get to the inside of the unit, to the very bottom of this. And apparently there's 3 tiny Allen wrench screws that it's going to be a pain in the you-know-what to try to get off. So let's see how I do it. All right, I got the screws out. So now I can take off this black casing. So there was a screw right here, right here, right here. And then there were 2 more right here. So all those had to come out. This looks like a screw, but it's not. But those are the screws that to take off the housing. So I talked to a buddy that's done this a couple of times before. He gave me some tips to save me from a headache. For one thing he said, and I haven't done it yet, obviously, but now that I've got those screws out, I can take this off. But he said it's very difficult to get it off around this gear. So you're going to have to kind of squeeze and manipulate it. He's like, that's just to be expected. So that's one thing. Number 2, I've got the cap off now. And basically this just sits in this here. And so at the bottom of this is like a black housing. And there are 3 Allen wrench screws at the very bottom. That is going to be a pain in the rear to get to. Because I've got to... take that housing off, and then the belt runs through that housing down a tube, and you can see where the tube ends right here. That's your tube. So the belt's in there. Let's see if I can show you the tube here too. There you go. Your belt is sitting inside there. So what I've got to do is take the 3 Allen wrench screws off the bottom of this casing, and then that whole tube assembly should come out, and I can replace the belt. But getting to the bottom of these 3 screws is what's going to be the pain. So anyway, got my screws out, got this off here. Now let me see if I can get this casing off. So I got it off, and it was a little bit of a pain, but I tell you that part right here that I mentioned, this is not a screw. It is not. As you can see at the top, that's where that sits on, right? That was the hardest thing to get off. So what I did is stuck a screwdriver underneath and kind of twisted the flathead screwdriver, and it just twisted enough to get it over this. And once that came off, I just reached down and grabbed the bottom like that and just pulled around the gear, and it just popped right off. So here's the housing, and supposedly the belt is inside here. This is making me nervous. I've never done this. Sorry for that big old sore on my finger. I know that's nasty. But supposedly if I take this off, the belt should be inside here. And it should be broken. Look at that. Look at that. I found the broken belt. Okay. So that's making a little more sense to me. So hopefully that's making sense to y'all too. So now I got to do the hard part. I got to get to the bottom of this with that Allen wrench and get that bottom casing off so I can change out the belt. And after I do that, this whole tube will come off. Oh yeah, something I forgot to mention. My buddy Chad said that whenever you replace the belt and go to put this pipe back in, this side of the pipe has to be on this side. So whatever you do, make sure to mark this before you take it off, because if you get installing it and try to put that in down there, you're gonna have to basically do it again. It only fits one way, so make sure to mark it. You can put like gear in or something. But yeah. Actually, I think I'm gonna call it a night. It's getting a little bit late, and I know I'm gonna need some fresh coffee before I start doing that. And I also gotta order the belt. So until next time, to be continued. All right, so we got the belts in, or I ordered two just in case. But so what I did is my kayak's under warranty, so I emailed Hobie, hoping that they would get me a belt fast. That was over a week ago, and I haven't heard back. So yeah, there's that. And so I reached out to a couple buddies online, and they gave me the part number for the belt. And so here it is. You can see that there. It is 770XL037. 770XL037. This was hard to find, believe it or not. It's actually not made by Hobie. That tube that the belt runs down, you have to order that assembly to actually get a belt. I can't remember the name of the company that put this. I'll put it, maybe pop it up at the beginning of the video. So anyway, not the most fun getting the belt. I could have taken it to a dealer that I got it from, but since I got the new house, the dealer's over an hour away. And so I don't want to deal with all that. So anyway, a little bit of a pain trying to get this part and try to get this part under warranty, but I got it. So I'm going to make it happen. I'm wanting to go fishing Saturday, so I don't have time to wait around. So let's see if we can get this handle assembly thing off with those 3 Allen wrench screws. So here we go. All right, so to get these Allen wrench screws out, I've been sitting here reaching in trying to find the size. I couldn't find it. I've got everything you can think of, and I don't have the right one. So the size it fits is 7/64. 7/64 is the size you'll need for your Allen wrench screws. So there you go. All right. So I got the 3 screws out, finally. So this is what we're looking at. Before I forget, again, this is 7/64. Yeah, 7/64. So there's 3 of these. This has been a real pain, and I've been told this is the hardest part, and it was. Well, it's been so far. But underneath, so you have to reach your hand in here to reach over to get this, right? And so there's 3 Allen wrench screws. With this screw and this screw, this little guy is going to save your life. Now, I didn't have the actual, I've got the Allen wrench that it took, but you can't really get that. You can only get this in there. When you get it, you can only barely turn it. So if you've got one of these, that's really going to help you out. And what I did, again, I don't have that 7/64 or whatever, but I've got a square bit that was S1 here, and I used that in there to get this one and this one out. For this one in the back, because it's right up against the kayak where it curves, believe it or not, there wasn't enough space for me to get that in there. But just by using the this here, that little 1.5 inch that saved me, that did the trick. And I stuffed a paper towel. So this is a 1/4 inch socket, I believe. Yeah, 1/4 inch socket. Yeah, 1/4 inch, and then I just put my bit in there. I stuffed a piece of paper towel in there so this thing wouldn't fall out. So that was a challenge, but we're rocking and rolling. So we got our cap out now. So I think theoretically I should be able to pull the whole assembly out now. So let's see. All right, I got my 3 screws out. Next part, at the end of this rod here, there's a pin that goes through it here. And so what you have to do on the bottom, this rod underneath sits in this hole. And so once that slides onto here, there's a hole at the end of this pin where this pin slides into. It's kind of hard to explain. And so once that pin is on there, that is how it seats, right? So inside the unit, it's kind of sitting like that, and the rod goes through here, and the pin goes through it. So what you got to do is figure out a way of holding this stationary. So I held this with my hand, and I tapped the top of this rod right here, and it popped it off. So now the pin's out. I think I can actually take out the assembly now. We'll see. All right, so the next step to get the pipe out that the belt runs, you can see the pipe sticking out here with my broken belt. And you can see here, yep, there's the pipe. So you can see at the end of the pipe, It's like some plastic tubing that goes over a male and female in here, and it looks like there's 2 zip ties there. When I first saw that, I thought somebody's tried to do this before and put those zip ties on it, but a buddy told me no, that's how they come. So I'm gonna clip those off and then see if I can get the tube out. All right, so I got the 2 zip ties off. I was getting ready to pull out the pipe, but I realized the belt's still on it, so I pulled it out. Actually, I pulled this off first. So this was right here. I just pulled it off, set it aside, and here's the belt. Here's your part number. It's the same one I ordered, thank the Lord. 770XL037. All right, so I got the pipe out that holds the belt. That was a lot of fun because it just awkwardly doesn't want to come out there. You have to angle it just right. So this is what we're looking at. This is what I've been trying to get apart. You can see where the belt sits. And those 3 there. And this right here, this had zip ties on it. That's what I just cut off. And check this out in the middle here. So the belt runs down this pipe. One side of the belt will be on this side. One side of the belt will be on this side. A buddy made a recommendation to me while this is out, take this little metal piece and sand down the edges. And that way it's just not as rough on the belt because it's pretty sharp, but fortunately mine's super soft. So let's see if I can figure out how to get this belt on. So looking at this thing, I think the first thing I'm gonna have to do is take this out. Take that out, and that'll separate the black head from the pole. And I was looking at it, and earlier I mentioned, yeah, there's the ribs where it sets. If you look close, it doesn't set up in this top part. It goes past that gray lip in there. So I looked on the back, there's 2 screws here. I'm assuming those 2 screws hold in that gray part. So I'm gonna take this off, separate it, and then take these 2 screws out. Hopefully that'll give me access to the back side. So slide the belt in there, put the screws back in, and then work the belt down the pipe and put that back on. That's the plan. All right, so it worked. I disconnected it from the pole and took these 2 screws out, and this is what's inside. And this is exactly how it's set. So it's kind of hard to show you this with, let me see if I can get my pinky in here. So it looks like the belt goes around this pulley system, and then inside that spacer and inside that spacer, and then the tube connects at the center at the bottom. So when I pulled this off, these flew everywhere, and after looking at it for a minute, I realized this is the only way it can go. So I'm gonna snap the belt on, put that casing back on so I can be done with this part. All right, I got the belt on. And so what I did is took out that little metal rod and then put the beginning of the belt in, and I pushed the belt all the way down using that rod that's in there. And I've turned it at the bottom, and when I turn it, the gears are turning fairly easy. A little bit of resistance, which I feel like is okay. So let me see if I can put this thing back on. Okay, I got the assembly slid back under here, and then this pin is kind of down there. You can't really see it. I got it through the top of the drive, and now I've got to put this cap on the, actually I got to put this pin in and then seat that, and then I could put this, I'm getting mixed up. I got to put this on and put this pin on the drive and get this to seat on that. And then I could put that cap that was a pain in the ass back on. It's around here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Okay, but this is a part I haven't really fooled with yet, and I hope that I shouldn't have put this on first. But the belt was broken up here, so this part was kind of easy to take apart. But this belt should go in here and wrap around the gear. So I'll try to finish putting this back together first, and then we'll see about this. But I'm just crossing my fingers that I should not have done this first, so we'll see. All right, so this is where we're at here. So I'm about to attach this. I was just looking at it, and I didn't have to take this apart because the belt broke. It just slid out of it. But this part just slides on top. The belt is gonna ride right here. And then on here, you'll see the belt has to come through that little slit and be on both sides of these little bearings. So I gotta open this up. Looks like there's just 2 Allen wrench screws, so easy enough. All right, so it worked. So I slid the belt in, and put these 2 screws, put the cap on top. So, okay, let me start over. I actually laid this bottom part aside. It'll actually just slide out. And I put the bottom on, got the belt in, and it was very tight, obviously. Put the cap on and replaced these 2 screws. Now we're good to go. Now I'm trying to get this black casing back on. All right, we got her all back together. Put all the bolts back in that I showed you taken out. So she's good and she's good. So let's turn her. I was worried it would be too tight, but it's, I mean, it's perfect. So you can see it's turning. So yeah, good to go. So I hope this video helped somebody. I looked online and I could not find one video to show me how to do this, believe it or not. So shout out to my buddy Chad Walden. Appreciate you, brother. You saved me a few headaches. So if you're new to the channel and you're watching, we don't just do DIY stuff. Bryce and I, we love anything fishing related, but we really love tournament bass fishing. So check out our other videos. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, all that good stuff. And as always, thanks for watching.